Folks, please welcome Mary Anne Rothberg. We're going to keep the credits rolling for one more moment here.
What are you thinking? How stupid this all is?
No, not at all. Nostalgia. I have trouble with nostalgia.
Why? I mean, I live in it, and I wallow in it, but I get it. Some people don't. I mean, bad memories?
No, not bad memories, just memories. Which I
Thank you so much. Thank you for this beautiful thing. Thank you for this beautiful film. Thank you so much for being here. And
Isaac, this is fun. Thank you so much for having our film programmed here. It really means a lot to us. And thanks to all of my friends and family and so many familiar faces in the audience. I really appreciate everyone showing up, and I have a special shout out for many of the people who worked on the film, the crew, and many people we interviewed who are also here tonight. We wouldn't have a film without you, and I'm forever indebted. So thanks.
the film, I mean, there's so much to ask and there's so much to discuss after a film like this. And it really, you chose the right tone for it in terms of it just being also, beyond going into important, deep, tough topics, actually is entertaining. I also want to say, of course, this film, I mean, the irony of this film serving as John's legacy and being a memorial, and I think it stands with that and without that, and both separately beautifully. But we could talk more about that. But let's maybe start from the beginning. Where did this project start?
So several things happened simultaneously that gave us the idea for the film. First of all, John and I were working on a short film about a Greenwich Village locksmith who decorated the front of his little shop with a sculpture he made out of tens of thousands of keys. And we asked him why, and aside from the fact that he wanted to create something beautiful, he said that he just wanted to be remembered, that he had had this shop for 40 years, and he didn't want 200 years from now for no one to know that he existed. Around the same time, my daughter, who was then in middle school, was studying the poem Ozymandias, which you saw in our film. And it turned out it was one of John's favorite poems, that he loved reciting it when he was growing up as well. And we came up with this idea of hubris. John really thought, and I thought at one point before we started talking to people, that people would really care about their legacy, would care that 20 years later they would be forgotten. So we thought it would be an interesting topic to explore. And the other thing that happened, as you saw in the film, is that John lost his mother, and my parents also died around the same time. So we were curious to explore the idea of, what happens when someone is gone and you can reduce their life to a box. What does it actually mean? So that was more or less the impetus for this exploration. And then we had just a zillion people we wanted to talk to, and you only saw a few in the film. We interviewed probably 60 different people and went in so many different directions. So it was, a topic that we really wanted to delve into.
Yeah, and this is such a huge topic. How do you decide? Where do you start? Who do you go to? What directed your thread throughout?
So, well, it was rather undirected at first. We, spoke with the rabbi you saw in the film, but also a priest and an imam and a Buddhist monk. We went to Greenwood Cemetery, we went to Woodlawn Cemetery and spoke with people there. We spoke with one of John's friends who is Jay Gould IV, and of course he has a son, Jay Gould V, and is the descendant of Jay Gould, the robber baron. And we wanted to delve into that topic a little bit. There were just so many tangents. We have an interview with Ray Kurzweil talking about the singularity, and you could see a little bit in the film our interview, a tiny portion of it, with Bina, the sentient robot. So, we just explored this topic from so many angles that we really had a challenge trying to figure out how to narrow it down and what was important. I think our editors, Russ Green and Alex Baer, did a remarkable job paring down what we really needed to use to just the essence of some of these conversations. But it was an ongoing discussion, and it took, the film, we started making it 12 years ago, and there's a reason why. Most of that was spent editing, so.
And tell me a little bit about your work with John as co-directors, how that was really divided up.
John, as you could see, was a big personality, and he was a physically large person, very charismatic, really great sense of humor, one of the funniest people I know. So he's the people person. I prefer a little bit more to do research and life work behind the scenes. So we divided responsibilities like that. John was the one who would call people. Those of you who sat for interviews probably got your call from John, but I found your name. So, and I think it was a great partnership. We had skills that really complemented each other.
I was moderating another screening this afternoon, and I was standing next to the subject of the film just as her father, who had passed, was featured in the film, and she said to me, she said, look, he lives on in this film, which immediately connected to this film. How are you working with this film in terms of? I think you add a beautiful moment at the end in terms of John's legacy. But how did you really? How did you make those decisions? How do you treat that? How do you go about such a personal topic there?
You mean John's passing?
Yeah.
So it was tough. As you saw in the film, John died shortly after he recorded voiceovers, so most of our editing was done. And there was a big discussion about whether or not we should start the film talking about, telling everyone John has died, or saving it for the end. And I think we went back and forth. I was pretty committed, and I think John would have not wanted to start off the film that way. That, we had this topic in mind, we wanted to make this film, and John didn't want the film, he really resisted being in the film, but he certainly didn't want the film to be about himself. So I thought, putting the mention at the end added that little ironic twist, which I know John, he would have loved. So, it was tough working with his footage, and it was really tough working with the audio. But, I hope we struck the right balance.
I think it's very tasteful and
Thank you.
And kind of puts it together in a very human way. So thank you for including that too, and because I know you could have gone other ways with it. How about the use of footage and comedy to kind of tell the story? What was that process?
So John loved all of the TV programs you saw, and he watched a lot of television, and had, you can see that there's so many mentions about legacy and remembrance and pop culture. And John would save those references, and we wanted to include them to make the film a little bit less serious. So, yeah, it was in keeping with John's personality and my personality. We like humor. We like things to be light. And, that was something that was important to both of us. So.
I'll ask just one more question and then open it to the audience for your questions and thoughts and make you a part of this conversation. But making a film over 12 years, obviously a lot changes within your subjects, and you kind of revisit some of your subjects again at some points. And tell me a little bit about coming back and how you made that decision to actually return to certain people that you interviewed.
Well, actually everyone who is in the film, I think, did an outstanding job. Mark Mellon gave us so much of his time, and literally everything he said was a pearl of wisdom. It was really hard editing a lot of his material, but we felt that there were more stories that needed to be told, and just over time, as we were editing, we'd realize, we need this particular comment, or we need this segment. So, we had actually done an edit about 3 years ago, which didn't include John. And then when we made the decision that he needed to be in the movie because he would add a certain amount of heart to the film, we went back and shot a bunch of additional footage too. So I hope that explains it. I don't know.
There was I remember when I was watching it and I see Tom Wolfe come up there and I'm like, wait a minute, this he's not with us anymore. I had to quickly Google that. My memory was not, and there's a few people I think throughout that.
Yeah, we lost actually many people. Several of the people who didn't make the final cut too. Which is what happens when you make a film over 12 years and you interview a bunch of older people. But yeah, it was very sad losing so many people.
Yeah, and also part of that cycle that I think the film is really talking about. I'd love to make you a part of this conversation. So we have a microphone here and hands go up in the air.
Well, first of all, thank you. That's a fantastic film. It was really, really fun to watch.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It made me really think about the topic, but as you said, in a light way. But my question for you, Mary Anne, is what was your favorite observation about legacy at the end of this process?
So, well, I think I relate most to what Rabbi Rubinstein said, that, enjoy your time while you're here because that's all you have. And, your DNA will be passed down to your offspring, and your values will hopefully be passed along. And, you can only control what you can control. So live for today and enjoy your life and be a good person. So.
Thank you. I so enjoyed the film. It was so moving. And my question is kind of related to when you were talking about social media. And I'm just struck by there's such an urgency, I feel like, in creation today. People wanting to create something and put it out immediately. And I'm so impressed that you took so much time with this film. And I'm just kind of, I'm just kind of wondering what that process was like for you. Obviously, it with the fact that you lost your friend, but it's just such an amazing, I'd love to hear about that.
If we could have finished the film in 3 years, that would have been wonderful, and we would have preferred doing it that way. It just didn't happen. We just couldn't come up with an edit or a way of telling the story that made sense, which is why it dragged on and on and on and on and on. But I'm, thrilled that we're finally finished. So, yeah. Yes.
Juliet, above you, there's a hand.
What is the, I don't want to say the trajectory of the film, but like where has it been shown, and where is the intention, wishes, dreams for it to go next?
So, well, the wish is it for the film to be on a streaming platform near you in the near future. The film has shown at a film festival in St. Louis, and it will be in a few other film festivals in December and January. And, you know, we're still looking at ways of getting it out there. You know, it's wonderful to have this kind of venue, and hopefully the film will show at other small theaters across the country. And, you know, again, my goal really is to get the film on a streaming platform so you can turn on your television and watch it.
This is a required viewing, I would say, and I think there's definitely an audience for this. Anyone with a heartbeat and really all ages should see this film. So and start a discussion with a discussion guide. This could go into educational spaces too, and of course we'll be happy to try to help get it to the right distributors. We got a question up there.
Yeah, I'm just curious, is there really a schmuck mausoleum? And
There is. Right.
how did you come to know of it, and where is it?
It is in Woodlawn Cemetery. We were driving to interview someone, and we passed it, and I said, we have to get out and film that. And actually, when we were looking to hire editors, we spoke with a lot of people, and one editor in particular mentioned the Schmuck Mausoleum, how he loved that, and I thought, you're hired. Right? So, thank you.
You know, you put together this thoughtful film, and this is the question we get.
Thank you.
We have one down here, and then we'll take one more up there.
Thank you for this film. In addition to the message and the film's through line, it's visually gorgeous.
Thank you.
And just so beautifully constructed. About the 12 years, if I have this right, during that time, COVID lockdown happened, and I don't know whether that stopped your work or not, but suddenly people who had been unimportant were made more important, and then and people were unexpectedly dying and frightened, and I am wondering if letting it gestate or whatever you're doing with the film over that period of time changed any of the way you or maybe your interviewees, do you think?
You know, Marsha, I'll have to think about that one. So, I think when you take so long to produce something, you have a chance to step back. You know, you certainly during COVID, we weren't going to the office every day. John and I were communicating on the phone and working with the editor remotely. And it gave us a chance to get some distance from the project and distill some of the thoughts that were the most important. That's when we made the decision really to put John in the movie. So we realized that the cut we had, was great, but it lacked a little bit of soul. And adding John to the mix gave it, I think a lot of heart. And again, I don't think his personality completely came through in the film because he was a somewhat reluctant participant. But I think that was probably the biggest decision to come from COVID. So.
As one of the voices that made the cut, I want to just repeat something that everyone already feels in this audience, having seen the humanity that is imbued throughout this beautiful film. Working with Mary Anne and with John was a total joy.
Thanks, Mark.
There's a sweetness for those who don't already know Mary Anne personally, but just a care, an embrace of the possible, and certainly a great vision. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you.
So, well, thank you for giving us so much of your time. I mean, it was amazing. And Amy, I know you're there someplace. You came back, and we spoke with you again as well. And it just means so much to me that we had the opportunity to talk with both of you, not once, but twice, and 3 times, and 4 times, and so forth.
What's next for you?
For me, I have a couple of projects in the works, very initial stages, a couple of short projects, and another feature film, which I want to start working on. But in the short term, it's really to launch Forever Endeavor, to make sure that it gets seen. After spending 12 years on something, you don't want it to just sit on a shelf, so to speak. So.
Folks, help spread the word about this film.
Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you, Isaac.
I want to thank again our partners, Plaza Jewish Community Chapel and our Wexler Center here. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you at other movies soon. Have a good night.